Hi, I'm Vanessa from SpeakEnglishWithVanessa.com. Do you know when to use phrasal verbs? Let's talk about it. I have a secret to tell you. Before I became an English teacher, I had never heard the expression phrasal verb. And I can bet you $50 that if you went on the street and you asked anyone in the US, what's a phrasal verb? I bet that they wouldn't know. I tell you this because sometimes when you try to focus on concepts and put them into little categories like phrasal verbs, flap T, past perfect, present perfect, it can feel really stressful and make you feel a little more stressed about English than you need to. Of course, it's great to have tools in your metaphorical toolbox to know what those concepts are, but don't let them stress you out. When I was living in Paris, my French teacher was the most amazing teacher that I've ever had, and I always try to be like him. Let me give you an example about what he would do. Every English speaker has a fear of the subjunctive tense in French. For some reason, because we don't really use it that often in English, it is just really stressful to learn this in French. So my teacher had a unique way to help us learn this without stress. And I really remember at the end of that lesson, I felt like, oh, it's not that bad. Why did I think that the subjunctive tense was that bad? This is what he did. He went around the room and he asked each student a question, and we knew that we needed to answer that question using the subjunctive tense. He didn't give us the rule, you need to use it for desire, will, or wanting, these types of things. He just said, your answer needs to be in the subjunctive tense. Here's my question. So he asked me, what do you need to do today? And I said, il faut que je fasse blah, blah, blah. This is using the subjunctive tense in French. I didn't know the exact rule behind this yet, but in real life, when someone asked me, what do you need to do today? I knew I need to use the subjunctive because I already had this real life situation where I used it in the classroom. So I hope that today's lesson will be similar. I hope that you'll be able to use these phrasal verbs intuitively before I teach you a rule about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 9 pairs of sentences, and I want you to guess, should you use the phrasal verb or should you use the simple verb? Let's take a look at a quick example. Here we have 2 verbs, try and try out. Try out is the phrasal verb and try is the simple verb. Here are 2 sentences. I need to the cake before I buy it. I need to the program before I buy it. The only difference here is the cake or the program. Which one is best with just try, the simple verb try? And which one's best with the phrasal verb, try out? Think about it for a moment. Did you say, I need to try the cake before I buy it? And I need to try out the program before I buy it? If you said this, you're correct. Did you know that we use try out to test some kind of program or experience? Maybe you didn't know that specific rule, but try out just intuitively felt right with the word program. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to look inside your heart and guess the best answer for these next pairs of sentences. Afterwards, I'll tell you a quick rule about it, but hopefully in the future you'll be able to use these naturally. All right, let's go on to our first pair of sentences. Pair number 1. Brings or brings up. He always his wife in conversation. He always some wine to my house. The main difference here is the end of the sentence, of course, so take a look at this and feel in your heart which one is the most correct for each of these sentences. Did you say he always brings up his wife in conversation? He always brings some wine to my house? I hope so. That's the correct answer. We use the phrasal verb to bring up something to talk about entering a topic into a conversation. That means that this man often talks about his wife in conversation, hopefully because he loves her so much. So he brings up his wife in conversation. Or you could bring up politics in conversation. You are bringing up a topic in a conversation. And of course, we use the word bring to physically give something to someone else. He brings a bottle of wine to my house. Pair number 2, fill or fill out. You should your mind with facts. You should the form with facts. The only difference is your mind and the form. Think about this for a moment. I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You should fill your mind with facts. You should fill out the form with facts. Did you know that we use fill out a form to talk about writing some information on a form? I used the simple verb fill in this more metaphorical way. Of course, you can fill a glass of water, but when you fill your mind with facts, your mind has a lot of factual information in it. It is filled with facts. Pair number 3, found and found out. This is the past tense of find and find out. How to avoid the traffic. A better road to avoid traffic. Which one of these needs the phrasal verb? And which one of these needs the simple verb? Think about it for 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Did you say, I found out how to avoid the traffic? Did you say, I found a better road to avoid the traffic? I hope so. We use find out to talk about solving a problem, especially when we say find out how or find out why. Those are your keywords, how and why, when we use find out. For a longer video about find out and figure out, you can check out this link up here, which is a video that I made about 2 years ago comparing these two similar and yet different phrasal verbs. Pair number 4, read over. Now this pair of words here looks like read and read over, but the present and the past tense are spelled exactly the same, they're just pronounced differently. So we need the context here. Let's take a look at the sentences. She, the article 3 times. She, the newspaper this morning. Which one should have read and which one should have read over? Think about it for a moment. 3, 2, 1. It is best to say she read over the article 3 times and she read the newspaper this morning. For this one, it's okay to say she read the article 3 times, but if you want to emphasize that she read it in detail, this is read over, to look at something in detail, then you can use the phrasal verb read over. She read over the article 3 times in detail to find out everything. Pair number 5, used or used up. The sentences are, Dan, the cream for his coffee. Dan, the cream for his coffee. Oh no! So the only difference here is, oh no! Which one evokes the feeling of, oh no? Think about it for a moment. 3, 2, 1. Did you say Dan used the cream for his coffee? And Dan used up the cream for his coffee? Oh no! I hope so. If Dan uses cream for his coffee, cool, okay, doesn't bother me, I don't care. But if Dan uses up the cream for his coffee, this is a problem because it means that I don't get any. Use up means to finish something completely. So in the morning, when Dan makes his coffee, if he uses up the cream, I might be a little bit upset because then I don't get any in my drink. So that's why I said, oh no! Let's go to the next one. Number 6, call on. Let's look at the sentences. If you don't listen, the teacher will your parents after class. If you don't listen, the teacher will you in class. Which one feels the most correct for the phrasal verb? 3, 2, 1. Did you say, if you don't listen, the teacher will call your parents after class? If you don't listen, the teacher will call on you in class. For me, this seems like it's a universal truth that if you're not listening, if you're about to fall asleep, the teacher will always call on you. The teacher knows who's sleepy, who's not paying attention, and they'll say, Vanessa, What's number 6? Ugh, and then you feel really scared. So when you call on someone, you ask them to answer a question. Have you ever experienced this in school, that when you're not paying attention, the teacher always calls on you? But if you call someone, the teacher called my parents, this means that she's making a phone call. When someone makes a phone call to your parents, it's always a bad thing. So if you're not listening in class, the teacher might call your parents. She's not calling on your parents. That feels a little bit weird. She's just simply calling your parents. Number 7 is got and got into. The verb got is the past tense of get here. So let's think about which one of these fits into these sentences. I English last year when I found Vanessa's lessons. I finally English last year when I found Vanessa's lessons. The only difference here is the word finally. Think about which one of these words is correct. 3, 2, 1. I got into English last year when I found Vanessa's lessons. I finally got English last year when I found Vanessa's lessons. Why did we say I got into English last year? That means that you started to become interested in English when you found my lessons. Maybe that was true for you. I hope so. So you started to become interested in something. But the word get, or in the past tense got, by itself has a lot of different meanings. In this sentence, it means simply understood. Maybe you've never understood another native English speaker before, and then you watched my lessons and thought, I can understand her. This is amazing. So you might say, I finally got English. It finally made sense to me when I found Vanessa's lessons. So you would say, I finally got English when I found Vanessa's lessons. Number 8, keep and keep on. Let's look at the sentences. Make sure that you studying every day. Make sure that you studying every day. Which one of these is correct? Think about it for a moment. Do both of these sentences look exactly the same to you? This is a trick question, I'm sorry. It's because keep and keep on have exactly the same meaning. Make sure that you keep studying every day. Make sure that you keep on studying every day. This is exactly the same meaning. You could say, keep on running, go, 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 or keep running, go, go, go. Same meaning. No problem. You can use keep or keep on, and they're the same. Let's go to the next one and the final question, number 9. Number 9, show and show up. Why does she always us pictures of her cats? Why does she always 10 minutes late? Which one is best with the simple verb? Which one is best with the phrasal verb? Think about it for just a moment. 3, 2, 1. Why does she always show us pictures of her cats? Probably because they're really cute and she loves them and she wants you to love them too. Why does she always show up 10 minutes late? When someone shows up, they appear. They arrive at 10 minutes late. This is pretty rude, depending on the situation, but if it's at work, do not show up 10 minutes late. Not a good idea if you want to keep your job. All right, how did you do? Did you add the phrasal verbs to the right sentence and the simple verbs to the right sentence? I hope you did. I hope you learned something new. Let me know in the comments, what was your score on this test? Or maybe you'd like to use one of these phrasal verbs in the comments. Thanks so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again next Friday for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye! The next step is to download my free ebook, 5 Steps to Becoming a Confident English Speaker. You'll learn what you need to do to speak confidently and fluently. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more free lessons. Thanks so much. Bye!